Hi everybody, today's June 30th, 2019. We are in a Tridoshi Tithi, which means it is being ruled by Jupiter. And today I wanted to talk about the Cancer lagnas. So that means if your ascendant or lagna is falling in the Karka or Cancer sign, then these Bhava effects are for you. I do want to just mention before I jump into the lesson that Cancer is going to cover out of the 27 nakshatras. It will start off with Purnavasu holding Pad 4. It will move all through Pushya nakshatra, and then it will finally come to Ashlesha and cover all of that nakshatra as well. So most of these nakshatras are either, for example, Pushya is completely ruled by Brihaspati, which is Jupiter itself, which is Guru itself. And likewise, Purnavasu is also ruled by Jupiter. So we have a lot of Jupiter, Brihaspati energy going on, being the Tithi is in Jupiter. So, but Ashlesha is ruled by Mercury, and as you all know very well, Mercury is our speech. So I figured, hey, why don't we throw in the Kataka or Cancer lagna for the Bhava effects today, while we have a Jupiter Tithi going on, and a lot of the Cancer nakshatras are sitting with or ruled with Brihaspati or Guru. So folks, today I'm going to be using again Parashara's teachings regarding these Bhava effects for a Kataka or Cancer ascendant. So as we all know, Cancer begins as the fourth Rishi, so that means your fourth Lord will be in the first house. So let's begin. According to sage Parashara, the native will be endowed with learning, virtues, ornaments, lands, conveyances, and maternal happiness. Moving along, the fifth Lord is going to be in the second house for all of the Cancer ascendants. The native will have many sons and wealth. Be a paterfamilias, which is Roman for leader of the pack, so to speak, leader of the family. Be honorable, be attached to his spouse, and famous in the world. Moving to the sixth Lord, being in the third house, the native will be given to anger, be bereft of courage, inadmissible to all of his co-born, and will have disobedient servants. Now, the seventh Lord is going to be in your fourth house for a Cancer lagna. The wife of the native will not be under his control. He will be fond of the truth, intelligent and religious. He will suffer from dental diseases. And moving along for the eighth Lord, coming in the fifth house for our Kataka ascendants. The native will be dull-witted, will have limited number of children, be long-lived and wealthy. So the 8th Lord in the 5th Bhava, it does say that the children will be limited. So it doesn't say that he won't have any children. I know that we just read that he will have a lot of children. So perhaps this might mean something like he wants more children, because from what I'm getting so far, this is a pretty it sounds like it's a heavy royal type situation, where he's having a lot of wealth, intelligent, religious. It was very common to have a lot of children. So perhaps this idea with the limited children might be that he can't have, let's say that this guy wants, or this woman wants, a dozen kids. Having the 8th Lord in the 5th house, that might get limited. So, according to Sage Parashara. Now, the 9th Lord is going to fall in the 6th Bhava. The native will enjoy meager prosperity, be devoid of happiness from maternal relatives, and be always troubled by enemies. So again, we touched on having maternal happiness earlier. So this got really specific with saying the maternal relative. So perhaps the maternal, like his mother might have a good relationship with him, but however, the other relatives on his mom's side might give him or her a little bit of trouble. But this, for our Cancer lagnas, with the 9th Lord being in the 6th house, there will always be trouble by enemies, according to Sage Parashara. Now, the 10th Lord in the 7th house, the native will be endowed with happiness through his wife, be intelligent, virtuous, eloquent, truthful, and religious. So again, it is touching a lot about how these ascendants are going to, fall into either a high status or have a very wealthy profession. But even in the midst of all that, it seems like this native will respect the wife. Now, this could be, according to Sage Parashara, it does say the wife, but for us women, Cancer ascendants, we could apply that as well for a husband, I think. So, or we could just keep it as it is. So, moving to the 11th Lord in the 8th house, the native will incur reversals in his undertakings and will live long, while his wife will predecease him. And the 12th Lord will be sitting in the 9th house. The native will dishonor his elders, be inadmissible even to his friends, and be always intent on achieving his own needs. So one might be thinking, well, how could he be religious and spiritual if he's just intent on achieving his own needs? This is pretty specific if you just kind of read it more carefully. So I'm going to read it again. So the 12th Lord in the 9th house, the native will dishonor his elders. So there, right there, something with dishonoring the elders, perhaps the culture, perhaps, something that was, upfront and bold. Maybe he just downright, or she downright just said something just completely disrespectful. So then it goes on and says, be immiscible even to his friends, and be always intent on achieving his own needs. So, before we just heard that, this ascendant is going to be wealthy, be religious, love his wife, love his spouse. So when we hear this, it just kind of throws a tailspin. So, when it says dishonor his elders, that could be taken as something that's done invasively or secretively. Dishonor can be so many different ways, and I'm not going to get into all the different ways to dishonor somebody. You all know what it means. So I don't think that just because your friends might find you inadmissible, that could be for any reason. And always intent on achieving your own ends. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people, that's just how it is. You can be a very giving person, or you can be a person who is very logical and set out to fulfill whatever goals that he sets for himself. So it doesn't really say that the guy was a vagabond, so I don't think it means that at all. I just think that there is just some dishonor with elders. So it could be anything. It could be that your elders, they wanted you to, always stay in one place or take over the family business, but you wanted to start your own venture. So that could be a form of dishonor. And being immiscible to his friends, that could be, for any reason. Friends, sometimes they come and go, and sometimes they last forever. So, moving along, the first Lord is going to be in your 10th house, fellow Cancer ascendants. So, the native will be endowed with paternal happiness, royal honor, fame among men, and will doubtlessly have self-earned wealth. So here again, it is definitely talking about some royalty here, some high status. So, I think that these ascendants here are doing pretty well for being, high status, because I actually have read all of these Bhava effects, and I've seen, Sage Parashara doesn't really candy coat things. He just says it like it is. So, this ascendant doesn't seem too bad to me, even though some people might look at it some different ways, but you have to read between the lines and read exactly what it says. So, we can always fast forward, rewind, if you folks need to listen to it again. So now we are moving to the second Lord being in the 11th house. The native will have all kinds of wealth, be ever diligent, honorable, and famous. I actually have a friend who is a Cancer ascendant and has a lot of planets in Uttarashada, and which is that's where Abhijit. It's the time where Krishna did the Bhagavad Gita. It was a very energetic time. Abhijit only falls in I think it goes to the 8th degree in Capricorn. And don't quote me on that because I don't have my details in front of me. But I do know that Abhijit does fall in the Uttar. It doesn't have its own nakshatra. It falls into the Uttarashada nakshatra. And I do know that Uttarashada is also connected with a lot of royalty. These folks like to, be serious and royal at the same time. Okay, so moving ahead, the third lord is going to sit in your 12th house. And that means, according to Sage Parashara, the native will spend on evil deeds and will have a wicked father and will be fortunate through a female. So again, we have to read between the lines. These have to be taken very carefully and studied through, and the total chart has to be taken into consideration. This is just a blueprint and, I thought a very helping point. It saves a lot of time from having to go and say, oh, what happens if this, I want to know what my third lord in the 12th house does. And then you have to go search it out and look everywhere. But here I've put it all into one capsule to where you're not only getting Sage Parashara's Shastra, but you are also getting it all in one video. So, hopefully you folks liked it. I know I love it, and I will do my best to get all of our Rashis in here so that we can go through the Bhava effects together. Thank you so much. Goodbye.